Hello YouTube. Thank you all for tuning in to today's video. I'm Ken Dubs from Phasmo Hunts, bringing you an episode into our tutorial series on how to level up fast and get rid of this lower tier gear you might be stuck with. Now, to be able to do this, you will need a little knowledge on different ghost traits and abilities ahead of time, so this is not for the new players. Be sure to check out my video on different ghost traits and abilities that's coming soon, and to ensure that you don't miss out, subscribe, like, and turn on those alerts for a heads up. And feel free to share this video if you find it helpful. Okay, so these are going to be the settings we use, so feel free to pause the video and change them to what you see here. Our start insanity will be 0 with no pill restoration. The ghost speed is normal, but roaming and room change will be high, and there is no grace period. So holding this crucifix in your hand will be the key to survival when we enter. Alright, let's get into it. Checking out the objectives is optional, since we're only going for the correct ghost here, but sometimes you can pull off the challenges as you guess, and it'll give you a little more money, so no problem. The only things we're going to grab in this specific order is the crucifix, salt, and incense, and make sure you don't forget the lighter, and of course the headgear, if you do have tier 2 to replace your flashlight. Alright, for starters, you want to walk in and turn the lights on in the living room and kitchen, and if you can make it to the hallway, turn on those lights before going back to the living room. And if the ghost just so happens to event on you, use this knowledge while you can, and we'll make our way into this room, and we'll wait a second to see if the living room is the ghost room. Okay, and if it events again, we'll head back to the living room, and then we'll rule out a shade, because we know shade is the only ghost that will never do one of those right there, which is a singing event like you just saw. Alright, set the cruci right here, or actually you can hold it in case it's a roaming or teleporting ghost. Alright, it's hunting now, so we'll try and get a good look at it when we're looping to see exactly what it is, and we can do a few checks all at once actually. So we'll just set our salt down to check for Wraith, and we can hear the footsteps now, so we can rule out the Moroi, Dio, Thay, Revenant, Hantu, and Twin. Let's get a good look at it, or not. Okay, as you can see from the blinks, every 2 seconds when it disappears. Alright, we know this is a phantom. Easy peasy. Alright. Hunt's over. Let's lock in Phantom and see what we get. And there you have it.
Welcome back.
A phantom.
Some jobs ready for you.
Now that's a decent amount of money for one hunt. See? Alright. Let's give it another go. Again, we'll take a look at our objectives, because we might get lucky with something to do during the hunt for an extra $1,000 or so. And we'll grab the same starting items as before and do exactly the same strategy. Don't forget your lighter and headgear if you have tier 2. Now, if you don't have it unlocked yet, then after this, I'll show you what to do with that. I'll give you a little tip.
That's what she said.
Same as last time, we'll walk in and turn on the lights to the living room and at least the kitchen. The hallway isn't really necessary unless you get an event like before. Now, keep the cruci in your hand to avoid being spawned on. If you do have time, keep the cruci near you and set a couple items on the couch for a pulty test when looping. Alright, it's hunting, so you know it can't spawn on you anymore, so get in place while listening for footsteps. And since it's at a distance, we'll try and do a yokai test if we can get close enough without being seen. And alright, once we got his attention, we'll sprint back to a distance to also do a gen check for the sprint to us. We got no sprint, so we'll position for the loop and place our salt. None, too late. Alright, we'll set up for one more hunt. Let's turn on the lights so we can see it coming when it's hunting for a double check for gen and the Nobaki shapeshift. And we can do some ruling out while we wait. Okay, I heard that. Okay, see, so our assault got disturbed with steps walking towards us, not away from us. So we know it wasn't a phantom spawning, and we know for sure it's not a wraith now that it walked through salt. So that leaves only one roaming ghost that can do that. Since an event didn't happen in the room first and make the ghost walk out, it actually walked to us. So we know it's a banshee. But we'll leave after this and just check it. Do one more hunt, see if it changes up again, if it's a mimic or anything. Bada boom, bada bingo, bango, bucko. It's a banshee. And we banked $2,691 from now on. Amazing. Now let's give you advice when you're stuck with the tier 1 items instead. Now for this, I did forget to put the tier 1 EMF back on, but for what we're doing, it works the same as tier 1. So it's fine. We're going to be taking the same items as usual. The cruci, salt, and incense. Do not forget your lighter. And we don't have the headgear, so we're going to do something a little different this time. We're going to drop the items at the front of the door. Then we're going to return back to the truck for our flashlight, EMF, and photo camera. Just so we can get a little bit of media and objective done at the same time. Now, you want to throw the salt inside, and you want to throw your camera inside before you do anything else. That way you can carry your crucifix first, of course, then your smudge, and then your flashlight. So the order changes a little bit for what you carry, but it's the same exact items. This time you keep your flashlight so you can do a Raiju check, and you want to be able to see just in case the lights go off. Without the headgear, it is very dangerous. Alright, so we'll enter, and this before, you'll always go, walk around a little bit, try to turn on the lights before the ghost spawns on you. If you can, alright, get your placement back, and remember to try to set up your salt in a good position just to see what type of ghost this is. Make sure it's not a wraith. It's the only ghost that cannot walk through salt. And I like to keep this tier 1 cruci in my hand, of course, always, because the range on this thing is horrible, so the ghost could spawn pretty close still, so you want to be able to run and sprint just in case. And since we do have the bone in our front room, we'll go ahead and take a picture of it anyway. Get it out the way. A little extra money. Never hurts anybody's pocket. Okay, if you hear that, the ghost spawned and went straight downstairs. So that means it did spawn up here. Keep that in mind. Okay, it'll come back up. And we'll lure it to us if we can. Do a yokai test. Okay, it came to us, so we know it's not a yokai. We can cross that off. That's not that big. This camera might be a little better for the pictures, actually, because when you snap, it instant snaps. Again, the EMF was brought in for that purpose. After a hunt, it will go off. It doesn't matter the tier. It will always be in range of the hunt. So just take a quick little pick. And it just so happened to be one of our objectives, so we got that out the way as well. Money and objective. 2 for 1. Alright, I like to keep the EMF a little bit close just to make sure we don't have a phantom. Though after that hunt, we only saw a little bit of blinking, but just to be sure. Okay, it's hunting. Okay, this time it started downstairs, and if you notice, the light is off in the room. I turned the light on. So that's giving me a little idea of what this ghost could possibly be, but we'll double check. Okay, this time we'll smudge it just to get our smudge timer going and check for a spirit demon. Okay, hunt's over. Let's grab another smudge or two, and we'll get our video camera just so we can get a little bit of more media, I guess. It's not really a need for orb checks because the ghost was the same speed the first 2 times. I usually do an orb check if I hear the ghost speed change up a little bit different on any of the hunts. Alright, and then we'll just wait for the hunt. Try to get a couple lights on first, just to be sure. Actually, let's do a little check for our cursed object. Get another picture. Up, found it. Alright, we'll safely grab our camera with the crucifix in hand, just so it doesn't spawn on us. Remember, we still don't know exactly what the ghost is, so it is a possibility. Better safe than sorry. Now we wait for the hunt. Okay, move the door. That was not a full open or close. You can hear how fast it was, so it's not a Yuri. We can cross that off. Okay, it's hunting. That's not a spirit. It was under a minute and a half, but it was over. I mean, it was under 3 minutes. Sorry about that, but it was over a minute and a half. So it's not a demon and not a spirit, though it could still be a demon that chose not to hunt before a minute and a half. So take that into consideration. Don't always just assume a demon has to hunt. No ghost has to hunt when they can. They can hunt when they can. Alright. Check here. Actually, let's go into the ghost room for a bit, see if we can get any type of evidence. Let's see if we'll do a couple half door opens just to see if the Yuri, even though we kind of got an idea it's not a Yuri, we'll half open some doors and see if we get a Yuri ability, or maybe we may get an anti-Oni mist and let us know it's not an Oni or something. Though with the blinking through the looping, you can tell not an Oni, not a phantom. We are in the ghost room, so he could spawn. I'm not feeling this as a demon. I feel like it would have haunted a little sooner during the hunts, before smudge or after. Try to give itself away. So we'll cross off a couple here. We know the fast ghosts are definitely not in the rankings. We know it's not a wraith, not a phantom, and not a djinn. It didn't sprint to us when we opened the door for our yokai test. Alright, I'm just standing here to see if it tries to hunt while I'm in the ghost room. If it does, I can at least rule out shade. Okay, I can rule out shade. Damn, wasn't fast enough to record it. Alright, but that gives me everything I need to know to rule out most of the ghosts. Alright, we did our couple hunts. That was our time in. We gotta go. We can't spend too much time. The objective is to try to guess the ghost and get out of here to level up fast. So, we'll see if we're right or if we're wrong with our couple guesses. And I don't know how media works, so I'll just make sure I take this last picture inside. Okay, that should be all our pictures. Alright, don't worry about the rest of the media. This should be enough money to add on to make it a nice little bonus. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, for sure we know it's not a, well, not for sure, but we're guessing not a demon, not a Yuri, not a Myling, it was too loud, not a Poti, wasn't throwing anything with the lights on or down there, not a spirit hunted too fast, not a Shay hunted in the same room. Okay, not an Oni, we know from the blinks that leaves only Andrea and Mare. And simply for the fact that it switched rooms and went downstairs and turned on the light after that first hunt, I'm gonna go Mare. Mares hate the lights. So let's see what we get.
Welcome back.
Mare.
Job's ready for you.
There you have it. If this video was helpful at all, feel free to share it with somebody. Let them know about it. Like, subscribe again if you haven't already. And we will be posting more. So thank you for tuning in. See you on the next one.